Welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, where feelings aren't felt and snowflakes melt. Buckle up, it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
These confines with a monarch's voice cry havoc! And let slip the dogs of war. To my city steps. You insult my queen. You threaten my people with slavery and death. Oh, I've chosen my words carefully, Persian. Perhaps you should have done the same. This is blasphemy. This is madness. Madness. This is Sparta!
They painted over ants.
I think I might frame that last photo in that collage there that I put together for.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly, I think I am. I think I'm going to get that done. I'm going to write that down because I think I want that in my study someday.
Have you heard the Tom McDonald song, "Say Goodbye to Joe"?
I have not. Everybody in the world has been like, Tom McDonald fan, you gotta check this song out, and I don't know why I haven't done it yet.
Oh, he posted it like right after the election.
Did
it's
he?
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, for those of you that don't know our fetish for Tom McDonald, he's a white rapper, tattooed face and everything else, but he's incredibly talented and he's very, very conservative in his politics. And I love his. Actually, I'm not a rap fan. Obviously, I prefer other genres, but there's some rap that I do like. I have some rap saved. Yeah, I have some rap saved on my phone, and I'll listen to it when I'm walking, running, need a little motivation and stuff. But I got all of Tom McDonald's albums downloaded because he's actually just really good. Take the politics out of it. He's a good musician.
Yeah, you got to listen to Wave Goodbye to Joe.
I will definitely do that. Those of you out there listening to us, check out Tom McDonald. I actually haven't checked him out.
I was playing that at noon on Tuesday.
Oh, good. Did you see that?
Or was it Monday? Yeah, noon on Monday.
Everything seized up and then all my settings changed. I really, really, really got to get a different fucking... God, that sucks. Hold on a second.
Behind the scenes of the podcast.
What the hell just happened?
I don't know, but you got closer to me for a second.
Well, that was on purpose, but I used to be further away and the settings all changed. God. I'm gonna throw this fucking camera away. Anybody out there wants a free camera, just send me your address. It's supposed to be nice. It's got different lighting modes on it, like boom, boom, boom. Look at that. I look washed out. Let me turn. I don't know. God, it's probably Chinese. I probably bought it cheap off of goddamn Amazon. I just got to
made by Uyghur slaves.
Made by the same company that brings you TikTok. Yeah, I look a lot bigger, don't I? It zoomed in on me for some reason. Who cares? Everybody can see the size of my forehead. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
All right. Well, let's get going here. Yeah, it just happened again.
Now you're frozen up on me on the screen.
This was happening last time too. Oh, now it's back to where it was.
That's where it was. Okay. You gotta keep some of this stuff in. This is good podcasting.
Check out the YouTube video for all the highlights of Coop wrestling with his podcast camera. I mean, it happens every time now. So okay, I think that'll do. I'm not even gonna fuck with it. I don't care if I out of focus or whatever. So you're probably asking, well, first of all, I'll say welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. This is Big Coop up in the Pacific Northwest. That is my buddy Russ over there in the wilds of Tennessee.
Yeehaw!
And Russ, you're probably asking yourself, now why did Coop play that song at the beginning that was interrupted so harshly by Hail to the Chief and a few nice photos of the first family?
It's got to be from what 2004.
It was the number one song in 2004. You remember? I'm sure you remember that song because it was everywhere for like
Oh
10
yeah,
years.
I hate that song. That's why I was about to leave the podcast if that song continued a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I see. I was looking out for you. I interrupted it with that nice photo of the first family there. So, I think I figured out what's going on. The cord is cheap, and every time I move my notebook, it hits the cord and the camera goes out. It's just like the Jeep I just bought that's going to need a $7,000 transmission.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
You could do the Flintstones thing and just like punch a hole through the floor and you run it with your feet.
That's about right. Jesus. All right, we got a lot to cover, so let's just quickly talk about the year 2004. It really wasn't all that exciting of a year. Um, we'll talk about let's see,
Well,
where are we?
hang on a second. You're missing a really, really big event from 2004.
I'm sure we'll cover it.
No. I'm hurt. I'm hurt that you don't remember this event.
And so when we met,
It's when we met. We met in
yes,
2004.
I was gonna say that later.
Sorry, I didn't mean to undercut you then.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, that's when you and I started working together in 2004. I remember our well, let's get through this and then we'll reminisce a
Yeah,
little
then
bit
we'll
about that.
reminisce. Yeah.
Because there's a couple of funny things about the time when we met. Some of the my personality, me exerting my personality over dominion over people. That and many other things. That was a fun year though. That was a fun year.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that job and coming there, and everybody was cool. I actually really enjoyed it. Our boss was cool. It was a good atmosphere. So 2004. Let's get through this. We're on Willis time. We've probably been on Willis time for a few minutes already.
Yep.
The Billboard Top 10. That was "Yeah" by Usher, featuring Little John and Ludacris. Not my genre. I don't know that I like Usher at all. I don't know if I've ever heard an Usher song that I think is okay, but
Yeah, I can't
it's
recall
just not
one.
my thing. It's just not my thing. It's okay if you do. Burn by Usher's number two. If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys, which is a good song. I like Alicia Keys. Number
Have to hear the
three.
song to remember it.
This Love by Maroon 5. I remember that was back before that Adam, what's his face, started taking himself too seriously as a sex symbol, and that was their first album. And I saw them live, not knowing who they were, at a Matchbox 20 concert at the Seattle Coliseum, and I was actually kind of impressed by Maroon 5. That Songs About Jane was a good album.
Yeah.
But then they started sucking. Then they did the whole like moves like Jagger genre shit, and it was awesome. The Way You Move by Outkast featuring Sleepy Brown. I don't remember that
No,
song.
never heard of that.
I remember liking some Outkast songs, but I don't remember that song. The Reason by Hoobastank. I hate that fucking song, and I hate
I don't,
Hoobastank.
I don't
They
even
were
remember
an
that song.
emo alternative band. I'm not a perfect person. It's that
Oh
fuck.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah, you remember that shit? I played
I do now.
everywhere. I hate Hoobastank. They were terrible. I Don't Want to Know by Mario Winans or Winans, I don't even know,
I don't remember
featuring
that one.
Enya and P. Diddy. That is a really weird Mario Winans, whoever that is, Winans. Everybody's going to be like, oh, rich old white man. Well, I'm not rich. I am old and I am white. Featuring Enya and P. Diddy. That's that's one that didn't age well.
Quite the lineup.
That didn't age well. Hey Yeah by Outkast. Everybody knows that song. Hey Yeah. Oh, oh, hey yeah.
I
You
don't know
still,
that song.
yeah, you do. If you heard it, you'd know
I
immediately.
heard it maybe, but
Goodies, but
I'm not
good.
hip, so
Yeah, you don't have to be. It's like it was on every commercial there for a long time. They were sellouts. Goodies by Russell Wilson's wife, featuring PD Pablo. Sierra is Russell Wilson's wife. He lost his balls when he married her, and I remember when he married her, and he wasn't any good anymore up here. Um, Lean Back by Terror Squad, featuring Fat Joe and Remy Ma. So
these
that's
are
your
all songs
top
I know
10.
nothing about.
Of course, I always look over everything here. Very little of my genre of music or even anything that I think you would recognize or like. A lot of Kanye, a lot of people I don't even like Akon, and I don't even know. Jessica Simpson was on in the top 50. I don't even remember her singing anymore.
Back then she did.
Yeah, she did, but I just don't remember anything she sang. There's certain things I remember about Jessica Simpson. It has nothing to do with what she sang.
No, that's true.
Just saying. Just saying. Um, and by the way, those of you on YouTube or going over to YouTube, my background, that's actually the first family and the second family. I don't know if you call them that. It's a great photo of them waving bye bye to the former President Biden from the steps,
Wave goodbye to Joe.
and it's really funny because as Russ mentioned before we got started, the stern look of the president and his wife is kind of funny, and then you look at the vice president, his wife, and the vice president looks like he's just cold or kind of annoyed, but his wife Usha, oh my God, she looks like she's having a great old time.
Yeah. Like I'm here. This is awesome.
She was actually quite fetching that night. She looked like Jacqueline Kennedy a little bit in her dress style, and that coat right there reminds me of Jackie Kennedy a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
She looked nice. Okay, let's get rid of the top 10 movies, or not movies, I'm sorry, move into the top 10 movies because the Billboard top 10 was fucking awful. Domestic box office was better. Uh, Russ, do you remember what the biggest movie was in 2004?
I do not.
Shrek 2.
Oh, okay. I didn't get into the Shrek movies for a few years, so I didn't see it that year.
I enjoyed the Shrek movies, I will
I
admit.
loved them.
Yeah.
Just I didn't see him for another couple of years.
That's the last thing that Mike Myers did that was worth a shit.
Of course.
Spider-Man 2, which I thought was a good movie.
That was awesome.
Yep. I love that movie.
So the Matrix movies have got to be in there somewhere.
Let's see. Number 3, it's amazing that this movie made so much money, and I watch it during Lent every year, to remind
Passion
myself.
of the Christ.
Passion of the Christ.
Yep. And the whole movie's in like Aramaic and Latin.
It's fucking phenomenal. It's very hard to watch. Up until a few years ago, I had to be dead drunk to watch it, to have the courage to watch it.
Okay.
Because it's just so painful. But Jim Caviezel, of course, is wonderful in it.
Yeah.
Just so the actress that played Mary, I don't remember her name, but oh my God, she was astonishingly good in that and so believable. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Love that movie. It comes in at number 4.
Yeah. That was also the first Harry Potter book I read. Then I had to go back to the first two.
This is when it started getting dark, which I like because the first couple were like bubble gum, but
to me it really didn't get dark until number 4.
Yep. Great movie, The Incredibles. Great movie.
Love that movie.
Comes in at number 5. Phenomenal. The Day After Tomorrow, the Earth freezes in 22 seconds flat. You remember that one?
Yeah, it was a whole anti-global warming thing.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
The Bourne Supremacy, which I love all of the Bourne movies with Matt Damon. Number 7. I think.
I don't. Is that the first of the Bourne movies?
No, it's like the third, I believe.
I only saw the first one.
Great. I mean, it's great. And I read all the books. They keep the theme of the books going, but the books were written in the early 70s, so it didn't have any of the technology or anything like that.
Doesn't translate very well. Yeah.
No, but I thought Matt Damon was good, was great in those actually.
Yeah. I actually like Matt Damon as an actor.
What's that?
I actually like him as an actor.
Oh, I do too. I loved his cameo in Interstellar where he plays the bad guy.
Well, it was completely, it was very surprising that he was there.
They kept it under wraps really well, which was cool. Yeah. That had some star power in it, right? I mean, Matthew McConaughey, what's his I'm sorry.
Oh, the dude that played the professor.
Michael
Caine.
Cocaine.
Did you ever hear his
cocaine? What's that?
How he picked his movies?
He
said for a lot of them, he didn't do this for Interstellar, but for a lot of them, he's like, well, I pick up the script and I look on the first page and I look at the back and the last page. If I'm in both pages, then I do the fucking movie.
Cocaine. And Anne Hathaway, of course, was in that. She was great.
It was one of Jessica Chastain's first movies.
Yeah, she was phenomenal in that. But Jessica Chastain, I watched Zero Dark 30 again not too long ago.
I've never seen it.
I just forgot how good she was in that. Just absolutely it held your interest the entire thing. And I forgot that Chris Pratt played the main Navy SEAL guy.
I've never, like I said, I've never seen it.
I think you'd like it, and it's historically very accurate.
Yeah, I'll watch it at some point.
The only thing is, it's by that Catherine Bigelow, who did Hurt Locker, which I hate that movie. So I hate that movie. I thought it was a pile of shit the way she did it, but she's a good director. I'm not sure why she does all these like military movies. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd have to deep dive. Shark Tale comes in at number 8. I remember liking it. I just don't remember it now very
I don't
well.
remember it at all.
The Polar Express. I hate that movie. Hate it. Hate it.
Yeah,
Hate it.
don't
Hate
like
it.
that movie either.
It's scary looking. The animation's terrible, and I think
Yeah.
and it's another one of those ones where good old Tom, you can tell it's him. It's like you,
Oh yeah, it's a movie. Just it's a Tom Hanks movie. That's all it is.
Tom Hanks, and
It's not about the story. It's about Tom Hanks.
like I bitch about Tom Hanks's acting because he takes me out of the movie because it's not he doesn't get it. He doesn't become the character. It's just Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Um, and number 10 was National Treasure.
I actually love that movie.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. Just suspend a little bit of disbelief, and you'll have a lot of fun with it.
Yep, there's some good movies that didn't finish in the top 10. I'll just really quickly say I, Robot, I enjoyed, although it had nothing
Love
to do
that
with
one.
it. The Arthur C. Clarke novel had nothing to do with it, but it was a
No, it
good
was just
movie.
the title.
Yeah, it's a good standalone movie. I liked Troy better than most people.
I actually love Troy.
Yeah, it got panned, but I was like, what's not to like about it? It's actually
Yeah.
really good. Meet the Fockers, great movie.
I didn't enjoy Meet the Fockers near as much as I did Meet the Parents.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Dodgeball, it's a really fun
Love
movie.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, it's fucking great. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. The Village, we talked about that last time.
Yep.
Ocean's 12 was a great sequel to Ocean's 11. I love those movies.
Never saw either Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 12.
Oh, I think you'd love them. And the reason I like them so much is you can tell all the actor George Clooney and Brad Pitt and Matt Damon, they're having the time of their life making those movies. You can tell that the actors are just having fun.
Okay.
And that always makes movies better, I think. All right, let's get on with it. Cheaper by the Dozen. I didn't know that came out in 04.
And Hillary Duff before she was uh, fully grown yet.
Wow. Who?
Hillary Duff.
Yes, Hillary Duff is in that. And then Tom Welling from Smallville,
Yeah.
who he's in that. All right, let's move on from domestic box office. I looked at the TV shows. Nothing really changed. Let me just go through the top 10, and I don't really have any comments. CSI is number 1. American Idol is 2 and 3, depending on what night. Those were desperate times for me because I had to do that in order to watch my Battlestar Galactica on Sunday nights. Or Friday nights, I think it was. Papa Murphy's and Battlestar Galactica and a bottle of red wine. That was my friend. And to get her to even stay in the living room, I had to watch American Idol with her, which I wanted to fucking pour battery acid in my ears. Most of those people were just shit. And the people that won it back then were shit.
Well, but I also found out what they do with those. They basically, there's a pre-audition, and then the pre-audition judges pick like the top 5% and the bottom 5%, and they're the ones that get on TV.
Oh, I'm sure it's stick. There's no reality show that's actually reality.
No,
it doesn't happen.
Well,
maybe.
And the thing is, as it moves on, nobody really gives a shit about like the quarterfinals and semifinals. You either care about the finals or you care about the opening ones where you had the really bad acts, like she bang.
The only reality show I ever thought was actually fairly like actual reality was the the Alaska crab fishing show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Greatest Catch.
Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch. That's right.
Yeah, the guy that run the Northwestern, Sig Hansen, very famous on that show. The Norwegian family. Most of those guys live in Seattle, and their port is right there in Ballard, what we call Ballard, Washington, which is you can come in off the ocean, you go through the Ballard locks, which is really cool. What engineering is that? That was like practically turn of the century, where you can transition into the lake, and they moored there into part of Lake Union. But Monday morning, Sig Hansen and his boys, his posse would always be at the Bay Cafe down there in Ballard, and that's when I just coincidentally would take my entire S3 shop to breakfast every Monday morning. And Sig Hansen bought us breakfast every single Monday morning that we would go in there.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool guy. Where was I? CSI Miami. Oh, Desperate Housewives number 4, CSI Miami number 5, number 6, Without a Trace. I remember seeing it, not watching it, just seeing commercials.
Yeah.
Another show I hated, and I had to compromise my core values to watch it in that relationship as well. Survivors number 7.
Never even watched an episode.
Fuck, you're lucky. I hated that. Most obnoxious people in the world. Um, Grey's Anatomy comes in number 8. Never seen a single episode because I don't
Mhm.
like doctor shows after my really horrible experience in medical school. Um, Everybody Loves Raymond comes at number 9. Always enjoyed that for its guffaw. And Monday Night Football comes in at number 10. All right, enough of that. Where are we? Okay, 2004. Let me go through these real quick and then we can reminisce for a few minutes and then we'll get on with the show because we got a lot to talk about. Let's see. This was the year that the Mars Explorer rover Spirit landed safely and lasted a billion times longer than any scientist thought it would last. And I'm a big, as you know, I'm a big space nut, so that's a big one.
I love this. Yeah.
Um, this one cracked me up. I forgot about this because this was an election year. The Howard Dean scream. Remember that?
Oh yeah. And what it actually was the TV acoustics that did it because apparently if you were in the room, it wasn't that big a deal, but because of the way the microphones and everything were set up and the way people saw that, he came across as completely it tanked his. Of course, I am not sure the DNC would have let him win. He may have been the original Bernie.
He
But
might
remember,
have
he had that
been.
big lead. He was so far left. And then Kerry took Iowa, which is kind of shaky because Iowa was a caucus state.
Right.
And so even if he hadn't done the scream, I'm not sure the DNC would have let him get the
I
nomination.
don't think so. The DNC was still left center back then. It was very heavily influenced. Bill Clinton was still the power player back then,
Yeah.
and
Well, even
he
if
was
they'd
left.
gone far left, even going far left, they're not going to put a far left person on the ticket, that much on the ticket until they got to Kamala because they didn't have a choice.
Yep, yep. They've always do you remember Joe Biden was supposed to be a moderate. Remember that?
Yep. I remember.
One of the big things that I do remember, and it was gross, Nipplegate. Remember that at Super Bowl
I
halftime show?
do. That
Yep.
and yeah, because my Panthers played in the Super Bowl that February, January, whatever it was.
I knew you'd remember it for that reason.
Yeah, and it
Absolutely.
was the painful, losing the last second field goal, and then nobody can tell me that Janet Jackson trying to claim it was an accident. That's bullshit. She had that ring around her nipple. She knew exactly what she was doing.
So did Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
Yep,
Um, let's see a couple other things. Phil Mickelson won his first major. I remember that.
I think didn't Facebook start in 2004?
You did. I was getting to that, but I did. Um,
Maybe
yeah,
I'll
I
be
remember.
quiet so you can run through the events more and not have
No,
me.
it's all right. I don't care. It's all good. Yeah, no, good memory. I remember in 2005, a couple of kids from Sac State got my account hooked up for me.
Yeah,
Um,
my first account was MySpace, so
well, me too. MySpace was cooler though. It was more fun
at the time, yeah,
because you could do like glitter effects and put theme songs on there and shit. If you've watched Social Network, it kind of explains why they went away from that.
yeah.
Why, yeah, that's a good movie. I actually really
I
enjoyed
enjoy
it.
that movie.
Yeah, very, very well acted,
And
very well done.
I'm in the middle of listening to Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan.
Good.
Um,
It's a really fascinating interview, in my opinion.
yeah, he's really grown more comfortable doing things in public. He was not good at first.
Well, and I get the we're not believing, we're not this buy-in, and then he's just going whatever way the tide is or the way the wind blows. But I also think, I mean, that may be true, but I also think that having this administration has made him, he talks in detail on that interview about the threats and the
Oh
coercion
yeah,
from the Biden, and he's not going to get that from this administration. I know he knows that, and I think he just feels he maybe woke up and smelled the coffee. He goes, "Oh, life is going to be so much better
yeah.
now."
Have you seen the meme with Kyle Reese? And it's got the two pictures of Zuckerberg, the one from like 2005, 2006, and then the one from today where he
Uh-uh.
looks much cooler. And it's got those side by side, and it's got the guy who plays Kyle Reese above saying, the 800 series, they were easy to spot. They had rubber skin. These ones look human. They've got
I have
teeth,
now that you say
fat
that.
breath.
Now that you say that, I have. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, that's funny. Um, couple of tough military things that happened in 2004. Pat Tillman, famously, um,
Mhm.
the Arizona Cardinal NFL football player, gave up his career, joined the army, he was a ranger, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ranger Regiment.
Yep. And he got killed by what they said was I can't stand the phrase friendly fire. We don't say that in the military. We say fratricide, but
Yeah.
friendly fire. Yeah, there's no such thing as friendly fire.
A bullet
Um,
come by saying, "Hey, how you doing?"
yeah. Hey, buddy, what's up? What's up, bro? Um, Abu Ghraib, of course, a very scandalous prison situation where POWs were being abused.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I want to say something about Abu Ghraib real quick.
Go ahead.
Obviously, I'm not excusing any of that. Um, the the woman that took the fall for that, Lady England.
Yeah,
Look, obviously, what she did was wrong, but she was the fall person because she was happened to be in the photos. It astounded me that none of the higher ups were held to account for that. They took a spec four and they ruined her life over this. And yeah, she should have absolutely had some consequences. But at the same time, a spec four is not going to have is not going to be the one orchestrating this stuff, and it's not going to be the one running the prison. She was the public face, so she took the fall while some of the higher ups, the officers, the lieutenant colonels, the colonels, they got off scot free, and
they
that
did.
was
I
shit.
don't think any senior NCOs got relieved or anything either. If
I
I
don't think
remember.
so. I think you're right, and that's complete bullshit.
Yeah, I
They let
mean,
the lower listed take the fall for
every
what
officer in the chain of command should have been relieved up to, at least people that
absolutely.
were on the ground.
Yep, absolutely.
If you're, the one-star general and you're in Kuwait or something commanding from there, I get it. But yeah, I
If you're
think
at the prison,
yeah, if
yeah,
you're at the prison, everybody should have gotten relieved. Everybody.
or even a step above who was ever over the prison because it's your job to inspect.
As much as you and I like to assume kind of a superior air about the army, and we've done. I can get into. We've talked about that, the ethics and the situational ethics, and how we're better at that than any army in the world. But yeah, there's been some black eyes, and that was definitely one of them. I'm ashamed of
Mhm.
that. Um, let's see. Final episode of Friends aired, and that's you probably cried,
No,
clutching your
the
purse,
last couple of seasons of Friends were not good.
shaking and vomiting. I think is what you went through, if I remember right. Um,
It's not going to be a
let's
Friends reunion anymore.
Scott Peterson murder trial. I remember that very well because I was living. We weren't all that far away from that area
Yeah.
there in Sacramento. Okay, this one sucks. Ronald Reagan died,
Yep. I
and
remember.
I remember watching the ceremony from the Reagan Library when they interred him. And for some reason, my ex and I thought, well, let's make a deal out of this. Let's make a bunch of food. Let's watch this. Let's sit down. And then when Nancy Reagan climbed on the casket when they're lowering it into the ground was one of the saddest, most disturbing,
Yep.
emotional moments of my life. I was bawling so hard and I couldn't eat for the rest of the night, and there was probably $300 worth of food sitting there.
Yeah. No, that I was going to mention that was very very tough to see that happen.
Oh God, it just wrenched my heart. I mean, talk about a love story. And if you watch the Dennis Quaid movie
I
Reagan,
still got to see that.
it's mainly about their relationship more than anything else. It's pretty astonishing. Yeah, and if it gets it even quite right, like I said, I used to be, I wouldn't say we were friends, but I got to know Michael Reagan, his adopted son, pretty well back in the early '90s, and he didn't have any problem with Nancy at all. But he talked about how his dad, and it's true, he wasn't such a great dad because he was so devoted to two things: destroying the Soviet Union and his wife Nancy.
Yeah.
Those were the loves of his life, and the kids got a little bit neglected,
Just a
um,
little bit.
a little bit. But there's no such thing as a perfect man. Let's see. I don't remember that. Oh, Michael Phelps, eighth gold medal. That was a big deal. I remember that.
Yeah.
Um,
Where were those Olympics?
what's that?
Where were those Olympics?
Those '04 was in Greece, I believe. Athens,
Okay.
Greece. Yes, I
Okay, may have
specifically
been.
I specifically remember. I used to be. I didn't watch the Olympics this year because of all that bullshit. Um, but well, I watched a little bit of it. That's a lie. I did watch a little bit of it, but I'm an Olympic nut, and yeah, so I do remember that.
Yeah, 'cause I remembered that it was Atlanta, Sydney, then it was China in 2008. So I couldn't remember which was '04. But Athens, you're right.
Right. Um, let's see. Just a couple more things. Sad. One of the greats, Christopher Reeve, passed away.
Yep, the only man who I will ever say was Superman.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I am anxious to see this new one though. Um,
But I am.
this was a big deal. I remember this because I have a bunch of friends from Boston. The Red Sox finally won their first World Series since 1918.
Yes, that was a big deal for with
It was a
the
huge
bloody
deal.
sock and coming
They
back over New York and
that,
first team to ever come back from an 0-3 deficit in baseball.
right. And remember that huge tsunami in I think it was on Christmas ish, Indonesia, Sumatra, all that just
Yeah,
that killed thousands and thousands of people. All right, that wraps up 2004. So, yeah, you were going to talk about 2004 a little bit. That was the year that I came to employ and all that.
some big events. I'll get my butt whooped if I don't mention this one straight off the bat though. In August of that year was when I got married.
I remember that. Yep, 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 yep. Um, let's see. I'd only been there for a little bit. I think I got there just right about that time. No, actually, I got there and I don't remember that because I got there in the
You were there
fall.
for the spring, the 1 day 6 lane FTX that we did in like April.
Yeah, yeah, that's when I got
You
there.
were fairly new then.
I
But I
was.
remember you threatened to beat up one of the other cadre members.
Yes. What was he the MS1 instructor? I can't
Yes,
remember
he
his name.
was.
I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Scott.
Scott. And to caveat, well, not caveat, but to that's the wrong use of that word, but he wasn't a bad guy. We actually became friends. He just was an arrogant pusshead and he liked to pick on my which I am too.
He was a UC Davis homer.
He was, and he liked to pick on my sack kids, and he did it in front of me heading to that FTX, and I threatened him with his life if he ever did it again. I believe I can't remember what I said,
He
but it
tried.
was,
I remember because he tried to play it off like he was kidding, and you were like, "No, you're not."
no, you're
And
not.
but after that, y'all were fine. It was just funny. It was like I think you were something like, if you ever say something like that again, I'm going to rip your head off and then
He
show it to you.
well, and he was out of bounds with how he was treating my kids. It wasn't just hazing, which is fine. I don't care, give him shit, but it was a little out of bounds. Now he turned out to be kind of a throwback, like um, he was like Mormon without being Mormon,
Yeah.
living out in the middle of nowhere with his wife and like 90 kids and shit like that, and
Yep.
supporting him on a really crappy salary and all that. But he wasn't a bad guy. He was a very conservative Christian type, off the grid kind of a dude. But he was all right. He was a good guy. I thought he was a good officer. I thought he had his shit together. So, but yeah, he pissed me off right from jump. I think that was like my first week too. But it's like, all right, we're gonna set the rules here. You're gonna get to know me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my kids are my kids. Don't fuck with them. They're my soldiers as far as I'm concerned. So, um, anyway, yeah, no, that all turned out fine. He was a good dude. He just went a little too far. He was used to being able to bully those kids, I guess. Anyway, anything else from '04 before we move on to what's God, there's so much going on that we're gonna have to figure
Well,
out
like I
what we're
said,
gonna talk.
you and I met, and Coop was responsible for one of the seminal events of my life shortly after we met during that same Squad Sticks FTX. I don't know if you remember this, um, but you were the reason that I stopped drinking so much soda
I do remember that. I do remember that
because
because you had a
I,
headache.
I had a bad headache and I had never put two and two together. And this was one of the first. I think this was may have been the first weekend I met Coop.
I think it
Um,
was actually.
and I'm like, oh man, I got this bad headache. And Coop's like, hey, you drink a lot of soda? I'm like, yeah, I guess one. I said, well, actually, first I said, I got this bad headache. It always happens like the second day of any field problem we're on. He's like, so you drink any soda? I'm like, I guess one or two Mountain Dews a day. And I'll never forget his words. He's looked at me and said, yes, caffeine withdrawal, dumbass. Stop doing that. That was my introduction to Coop.
Or bring it out to the field with you. Pogey made it out or something like
Well,
that.
I went cold turkey before I went to teach up at Warrior Forge that summer. It was a bad 6 hours, but I I will occasionally have a caffeinated drink now. But we're talking like once every couple of weeks, and if I drink soda now, usually it's something without caffeine.
I since I mean, I had a pretty bad bout with some type of bug there for about a week and a half recently. I feel better now, but um, I wasn't drinking any caffeine for a long time when I couldn't do both. Back in my boozing days, I would not drink any caffeine because the combination of that and caffeine, it just blew.
Mhm.
But I'm back to having a couple of cups of coffee a day, and it feels really good. I mean, I used to have a pot and a half every day. I'm not kidding you, and that's
Pretty much.
ridiculous for a man my age and all that. You know, I go bum, 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 bum. I couldn't get my heart. I was going to have a stroke, and so a couple cups a day, I'm good. I'm actually sipping on. This is going to gross you out, but this is coffee made with mushroom extract to help the brain.
Oh, awesome.
No, it tastes great. It tastes great. It's
What?
actually like Joe Rogan and all those guys do it. It's actually pretty popular in the health community now.
Let me
But
find this one that I'm thinking of real quick.
oh
Um,
no.
Second.
I better fill in.
Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Most. All right. Why don't you go see if you can find some Kopi Luwak?
Kopi Luwak, what is that?
It's the most expensive coffee in the world.
Is that the
Um,
type that they pick out of the
the
Jaguars?
monkey shit. Yep.
Oh, it's
The
monkey
bean.
shit.
Yeah, the beans. Oh, it's not actually a monkey. It's some kind of lemur monkey hybrid almost.
Okay. I always thought it was like a Jaguar or some shit like that. But
Yeah, you can go on Amazon and get some for $2,500.
I don't want monkey shit coffee. I just don't.
Yeah, they claim the beans.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I still don't need
It's
to.
something to do with how the animal system partially digests it and ferments it as it's
Yeah.
digesting, and then when
Yeah.
it comes out, you pick the beans out. So see if you can get some of that Kopi Luwak stuff.
Have I ever told you that I fucking hate monkeys?
No,
I hate monkeys. I fucking hate monkeys. I
Well,
don't.
you're
I
like,
don't.
like
Like
anti-American.
even if there's like a movie with a monkey in it, even if it's a fake monkey, I'm like, get this fucking thing off the screen. I hate these
Oh
smelly
my
ass things.
God.
You
You
know,
also hate puppies and little boys.
no, monkeys are gross. Monkeys will kill you. Like a baby chimpanzee could literally rip both your arms off and beat you with it. I mean, chimpanzees kill people. They do. I mean, you've heard all those stories about chimpanzees going nuts and eating their owners' faces and shit.
But
Fuck
also,
those
I've also
guys.
seen cute videos of these chimpanzees running back to their owners and hugging them.
Yeah, fuck them. They're just plotting. They're just trying to lower the defenses so they can play. They're staring at the face, going, "I wonder which part tastes the best." No, I don't. Monkeys make me very uncomfortable. I don't know why. They just do. Don't want anything to do with them. All right. Let's get to our first. Let's get to our first topic du jour. We probably don't have to spend a lot of time on this. I'm going to play a video and it's going to piss you off.
Hey, real quick before I forget, one last 2004 event that's actually relevant to this.
Okay,
The last time that a Republican won the popular vote.
that's true. That's absolutely true. Yep. That was Ronald Reagan, right? Kidding. Kidding. Just throwing people off.
Pagery.
All right, let me play this.
I had to mention that because it's relevant.
All right, I want to talk about this a little bit. I know it's been talked to death on other podcasts, but it happened recently.
I already know what's coming.
Yeah, you do.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and
Yes,
are good
they
neighbors.
are.
They are faithful members of our churches
By definition
and
of
mosques,
being in the country.
synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and
We
persecution
can deport the kids
in their
too.
own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
Shut the fuck up. Shut all the way the fuck up until you reach the top of Shut Fuck Mountain, where there are no more fuck ups to shut.
I had to add that little bit in there from yeah.
Wow. First of all, let me just say something about her.
Go ahead, give the context to people who may not have not
Okay,
know.
well, this was the national prayer service the day after the inauguration. This Episcopalian, I think she's a lesbian, bishop, decided that was the time to lecture the president. By the way, anyone who's researched this bishop who went running to the View the next day, looking for her spotlight, she's one of these social justice warrior activists too. She's Coop. I don't know if I lost you for a second.
No, it's just my fucking camera again.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, she's one of these social. She's been on a lot of these protest marches and some of the social activist bullshit. I don't know why Trump and Vance would subject themselves to. I mean, they had to know they were going to get lectured by this woman. But the first thing I want to take issue with is, her and so many on the tolerant, open-minded left talking about, let's have mercy on the people who pick our crops and clean our clean our buildings. First of all, that's a nice little stereotype, a nice little racial stereotype there. I mean, if you were back in 1865, you'd have been a plantation owner saying, well, who's going to pick all the cotton now that the slaves are freed? I mean, give me a break. Stop pretending like you're not a bigot just because you want to be nice to the people that you're shitting on. And then for her to claim that there's people who are in fear for their lives, LGBTQ folks that are in fear for life, what a bunch of shit. Okay, no one's going out there and trying to lop anybody's head off. We're saying the big thing is the T part of that LGBTQ is you can have whatever delusion you want. You can't force me to share your delusion. She uses it as a platform to be lectury. I found it crass and petty. And I hope that Trump is smart enough to never attend one of those services again.
It was beyond crass and petty. Yes, I would expand that exponentially to completely inappropriate.
Classless.
The idea that she would use literally the pulpit,
yep,
to advance far left views and to throw them at the president of the United States in a church that he's voluntarily walking into. This is not the time or place. And it's so, I really hope, I mean, is defrocked still a word? I really hope that the problem is, me, I'm pretty ecumenical in my views about Christianity. As Vatican II, where the Pope is like, we need to bring in everybody, the Protestants, all that, anybody who believes in Christ, the Savior, we need to quit being at each other's throats and get together. I mean, that was the Pope, that was the Catholic Pope who said that during Vatican II, and decreed that ecumenical movement. It was a big deal in the church at the time. I'm all for that, but the Episcopalians can lick my bony. I am not a fan of the Episcopalian Church. Most of their social and I know a lot about this, unfortunately. I've never been an Episcopalian, but I've been to services, and I was in a relationship with an Episcopalian, and I've never met more. As far as oh my God, and it's self-righteous, but it's also they have such a lack of knowledge of what Scripture really is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They don't even interpret it differently, like Protestants and Catholics and Eastern Orthodox and stuff. There's slight variations in the interpretation of Scripture, and that's okay. But they don't even take Scripture into account. They're making stuff up whole cloth. I just saw somebody on Facebook that I had no idea was a Christian. She calls herself that, and it's one of those famous memes about how Jesus was a socialist. And it's like,
no, it wasn't.
You have a kindergarten level, and it's like he accepted everybody no matter what. No, he didn't. He yelled at sinners saying, "You're going to hell if you don't repent and change." Yeah. Now, was he in the Gospels? Was he like, "Okay, I will accept you for your sins, but you need to change. You need to repent." And repentance means taking responsibility and a whole lot of other things. And he in so many, I mean, I could quote some scriptures. I won't do it on this podcast, where he basically told people, "You either believe in me, I am the way through the Father, or you will never be saved. Salvation is not yours. He was very specific about that, and he was a tough cookie. He expected high standards.
I got into it with somebody on Facebook. The thread was deleted by the person who originally posted it because it was a theological argument between me and one of his friends. The guy basically had what I call the Charlie Brown Christmas special view of Christianity, where Jesus is just all about be nice, and he never sent anybody away. And I quoted Matthew 23 to him, which Matthew 7:23, which was depart from me, for I never knew you. I mean, Jesus was like, hey, you can't go around having sex outside of marriage. If you divorce a woman, you make her an adulterer if she gets married again. There's a bunch of stuff in like the Sermon on the Mount that wasn't all, hey, let's be nice to each other. Now there's some of that, but people tend to confuse Jesus with just being nice. And like, well, he ate with thieves and prostitutes. He didn't do that because he thought they were swell people. He was trying to bring them back to the flock and say, repent of your sins.
Right.
That's what he was doing. He wasn't saying go on and live that lifestyle. So yeah, I don't think this woman has any. First of all, if you feel this strongly about it and you want to talk to the president, you do that in a private audience.
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
did that intentionally seeking the national spotlight, and that is not. Humility is supposed to be a Christian virtue. That was not a humble.
Not narcissism, not communism and narcissism. And one of the things that on Salvation Warriors, I've been posting a lot of stuff from the book of John, the Gospel. Mm-hmm. The reason being I've done that, and it kind of inspired me, is because the last half of John, like chapter 11 through 12, and I'm sorry to get all biblical on you guys, but I been studying this my whole life, and I'm passionate about the history and everything else about this stuff. He really that's when he really starts talking about how I am the Father and the Father is me, and the only way through the Father is through me. He started kind of doing that, hey, I'm the guy. And that was kind of shocking to a lot of his followers, and a lot of his followers were leaving him. And this is, right before the Passion, before he got arrested. And he lost a lot of followers, and he turns to his disciples, and I'm completely paraphrasing. And he basically says, you guys want to go too? Then go. Then fucking go. He didn't say fucking go, probably. I don't know. He might have been Aramaic. He might have been Aramaic. Who knows? But he basically said, hey, if you don't believe what I'm saying, get out of here. He did. I mean, he kind of took that my way or the highway approach. Yeah. And so this Episcopalian bishop, she has no business being in a church or on a pulpit talking that. I don't care if she has those views. I don't mind that she's got a socially left view. A lot of Christian, especially from those types of Protestant religions, do. Catholics, a little more hard ass. That's probably why I appreciate the Catholicism, and I've seriously given some thought again to making it official and going through that process. But she has absolutely no knowledge. She has no business being up in front. And let me just play the video of what Trump said when a reporter asked him about this. This is a good time to play this video. Make sure I have this turned up.
What did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the?
What did you think of the service?
What did you think? Did you like it? Did you find it exciting? Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
They can do much better.
He's not wrong.
And he's being nice there. His tweet about it was a lot less gracious. She's an embarrassment, and of course now the left is looking for any little thing to grasp onto for their resistance movement leader, because everybody else is smoked. It's like, oh, she's the one. She's a fucking idiot. Okay, number one, she's inappropriate. She doesn't follow any Christian ethos or scripture that I know of, because scripture does not talk about any of that stuff.
Nope.
Okay, so why do you Episcopalians, if this is what you believe, then why do you call yourselves Christians? Because if you have to be biblically based you have to live a biblically based worldview in order to really absorb that. And that is this unbiblically based, having mercy and having mercy. Absolutely. But let's not forget the mercy for the actual citizens of the United States who have to foot the bill for all this stuff.
Well, let's not forget mercy for the victims of some of the illegal immigrants that have come here and murdered our children.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
there's nothing not merciful about this.
Yeah,
and
are most of the folks seeking a new life good people? Hey, I'm sure they are. Okay. But, there have been some very high profile murders recently, mostly by young illegal immigrant men who we've opened the doors to. And I think mercy for people like Rachel Nungray or Laken Riley or Molly Tibbetts might be a little bit, more in line with the Christian doctrine.
I hear you. And another quick little thing another little scriptural reference I want to throw in there is that Jesus told his followers and his disciples that they had a mandate to follow the law of the leaders and the rulers of wherever they lived. He actually said that. He said, you must not be loyal to, but you must follow the law of Caesar. Yeah. Because obviously the Romans occupied all of that area, and that wasn't so much to acquiesce towards fascism or something like. Yeah, good socialism there, but it was basically to say that this is the world that God has created for now, and to do anything else. Now, Jesus didn't rebel against the laws, the Roman law, or anything like that.
No, he quoted. Yeah.
What he went after was the religious idolatry and the false prophets among the Pharisees and others. That's what he made him angry. So people who were living false lives, who were supposedly, before he arrived, the gateway to God, who were all corrupt. Yeah. That was what he took on. There's never a mention of him taking on the actual government at all, ever, in any scripture. And I think in all four gospels, he makes some mention about being obedient to the laws. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's move on. There's your religious dose, but no, we're not trying to give a Bible school here. I'm just trying to support the fact that this bishop is I think, off-kilter human being who's a narcissist, obviously a narcissist, because it's like people who get on Facebook and they talk about, oh, so I was in a parking lot and some guy came up to me and he didn't have good shoes. And so I had some shoes in the back that I just bought at the outlet and I gave him some shoes and I gave him some money. I gave him a ride and la, la, la. Why are you telling us that? If it's charity, you wouldn't be talking about it.
I think it's Matthew 1:6. I believe it's Matthew 1:6. It says, when you do your charity, you're supposed to do it you're supposed to do it quietly. You're not supposed to triumphantly shout about your charity.
Right. Two things too. Whoever arranged this, is probably fired.
Oh yeah.
And the elders, or however the Episcopalian Church is I don't know if I think it's roughly organized like the Catholic Church. She needs to be gonzi. If I was in that parish or anything else, if I was the one step above, she's reassigned. She's gone. To put her boring, ugly ass woman in front of the president during a very, there's a lot of tradition to this, and that's just embarrassing all the way around. And to have him ambushed like that, I'm angry about it. And I'm actually going to write a letter. I'm actually going to find out what parish that she's the bishop of, and I'm going to write a letter because I just fuck her. I'm pissed off.
Yeah, well, I'm so Christian. I have a lot more to say about some of that, not her specifically, but some other stuff. But I'm sure you have some other videos that'll lead into that. So let us continue.
Perhaps I only got a couple more videos, I think. But let's shift focus a little bit, but it's really not even shifting focus to let's see. I want to talk about let's see, which one do I want to do first? Let's watch the video because we're going to get into what's going on with his executive orders and actions, and then a little bit about the confirmation stuff. But at first, I just want to show, this is going to be kind of long. It's not real long, but did you catch his speech at Davos at the World Economic Forum? Did you catch any of that?
Did not.
Okay, let me just give you two quick clips. I went ahead and pasted them together. I think you're gonna I think you're gonna enjoy him. He did it. He appeared virtually. He wasn't there, obviously, but the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos right now, and you know how I feel about the World Economic Forum.
Oh yeah,
it's just the proxy for the Illuminati, as far as.
Well, it's also definitionally fascism. It wants to marry economic output to government.
Absolutely. That's actually the folks that are listening out there. We've given a class on fascism. That's actually the very definition that Russ very succinctly said about fascism. So anyway, let's do this.
What the world has witnessed in the past 72 hours is nothing less than a revolution of common sense. Our country will soon be stronger, wealthier, and more united than ever before, and the entire planet will be more peaceful and prosperous as a result of this incredible momentum and what we're doing and going to do. My administration is acting with unprecedented speed to fix the disasters we've inherited from a totally inept group of people and to solve every single crisis facing our country. This begins with confronting the economic chaos caused by the failed policies of the last administration. My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury. Saudi Arabia will be investing at least $600 billion in America, but I'll be asking the Crown Prince, who's a fantastic guy, to round it out to around $1 trillion. I think they'll do that.
Love it.
An awesome way to put him on the spot right there at the World Economic Forum.
He has no problem doing that. He has no problem. That's what I love about him. What you see is what you get, and we'll get into the get into some of the stuff that he signed too, because it's phenomenal. But what I love, I watched the entire thing, his exchange, and he got I have that luxury, and
I don't
of time. But there was, kind of a discussion where people from the forum were allowed to talk to him back and forth. I got to tell you, man. I expected somebody to kind of confront him on some of this stuff. They were so well behaved when they were talking to him. Oh my God. They were like, and it's just phenomenal. He's given more public appearances and press conferences and conversations in 4 days than the last guy did in 4 years combined.
Oh yeah. It feels like he's been in office for a couple of months already.
It does. My God. So let's, that was, and the World Economic Forum, like Russ said, it's basically a fascist attempt to control the world's economy. That really is. And if you want to talk about conspiracy theories about the Illuminati, this is it, baby. This is it.
They're not hiding the ball. If you actually listen to them, they're open about what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they are. And the green initiative and getting rid of all, good luck with the fossil fuel thing. What are we going to do? Start riding horses because we don't, like you said. What are you going to fire? What are you going to charge the batteries with if you don't have coal factories to fire up the coal factories and charge all these little pods everywhere? I mean, it's just so fucking stupid.
And plus, we just had an Arctic blast come through here, so people like their heat.
Yeah, they do. I like it's 14 to 20 degrees at night here right now. Gets up to about 40 during the day, and we've had sunshine, which is nice because it feels warmer when you have sunshine. But yeah, no, Huckleberry's wearing his Eddie Bauer plaid jacket right now while he's sleeping.
Put clothes on your dogs.
He loves clothes. Huckleberry loves clothes, and he's old and he's got short hair, so he needs the help when it's cold outside. So, yeah, he looks great, man. He's got like
just don't put socks on him, okay?
Red and black hickory Eddie Bauer frickin' sweater. He looks awesome. All right, no, I know. I see that. He's a coonhound. He doesn't need that. Anyway, let's shift focus a little bit. I just wanted to play that because that's yet another. He just basically told all these economic leaders throughout the world, and most of them are leaning way left. Hey, fuck you. You want to invest in America? Yeah, we'll give you a break. Otherwise, you're going to be paying out your ass with tariffs. Again, folks, everybody's like, we're going to have to pay. You know what? Prices are going to go up in some areas and some sectors here because it's just the reality of the economy he inherited from Joe Biden. But like he says many times, I can't remember who he was talking to, and he said, no, it's very easy. We make petroleum more plentiful. Fuel prices go down, and it lowers the cost of everything because fuel is what causes inflation. Yeah, you're in the business. You understand transportation. If your fuel prices are up, then your food costs more because it costs a lot of money to transport the food to the
market. Yep.
Yeah, this is basic economics 101, and people fail to understand that. So these tariffs are nothing more than the speak softly and carry a big stick Teddy Roosevelt thing, except Trump speaks really loudly and carries a huge billy club.
And like I saw Nick Freitas online say, Trump's like, carry a big stick, and I'm going to tell you where I'm going to put that stick.
Real quick, and I want to get your take. Let me just. Oh shit! Did I do that? I did do that. Hold on, just a second. Let me pull that window back up.
What did you did?
It'll take me just 2 seconds. Hold on a sec. Okay. I'm just going to list a few of Trump's executive orders. I'm just going to go through these real quick, and then you can dissect these and we can talk about a few of these because I'm sure you have a lot of opinions on these.
Yep.
Federal workforce, freeze on federal hiring except for the military, and national security deal. Guess what? Federal workers who got basically you can stay home. Joe Biden wanted that to happen till what, 2027 or something like that. He wrote an executive order.
Something like that.
You're either going back or you're getting sundowned. Period. And most of you are getting sundowned anyway. Let's see. Review the investigative actions of the Biden administration. Absolutely. And remote work policies. Okay, immigration and the border. Bar asylum for people. So there's going to be a freeze on asylum until we get this shit straightened out. The one that's very controversial, and I'm sure you'll get into, we're just going to go through these right quick, is the birthright citizenship, ending that, which is a maybe or may not be a clash with the 14th Amendment. Let's see, the stay in Mexico policy that he had that was very effective, that's back on. He declared a national emergency at the border and is sending 1,500 active duty Army troops, active duty, not National Guardsmen. Gender diversity and equity. This is a huge one. He's terminating all DEI programs. As of 5 o'clock yesterday, there are no federal employees, and that now they did cheat in some places and just rename people's jobs and stuff. But they'll figure that out. Recognize two sexes and two sexes only, male and female. Remove the protections for the transgender people in federal prisons. If you go to prison, if you got a vag or you got a dick, you're going to go to that prison. Federal agencies are now responsible for investigating trade practices. All of China's business dealings in the United States are going to go under review. Let's see. Energy and environment. We're no longer in the Paris Agreement, which is wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. There's a lot of reasons for that. It might sound, oh my God, you don't care about the environment. Actually, we do, but there's countries that don't. Never mind. I'm not going to editorialize yet. There's a national energy emergency, which that's going to unlock a whole bunch of stuff. Just a little hint. You guys might be a good time to invest in energy companies. I'm just saying. Reverse offshore drilling. Let's see. We're going to begin to repeal the Biden era regulations on tailpipe pollution. Roll back energy efficient regulations for all this stupid shit like dishwashers and gas stoves. Alaska wilderness will be open to more oil and gas drilling, and anybody that knows anything about the Alaska wilderness knows it's tens of thousands of square miles of nothing. So there's not a whole lot to injure there, and besides, it's a whole different industry these days. Halt the leasing of federal waters for the offshore wind farms, which are bullshit. They're a horrible negative impact to the economy, and they kill whales and shit. Let's see, which are all from the World Health Organization, which I love. The Gulf of America is awesome. Renaming Mount Denali and Gulf of, I don't know about Mount Denali. I didn't really care about that, but renaming the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America is fucking phenomenal. Take back the management of the Panama Canal. No more. This was new as of today. No more flying the pride flag from any federal building at all. The only flag,
we got one flag and it's inclusive.
One flag, and it's inclusive of everybody, motherfuckers. And that's the only one that's going to be allowed to be flown from any federal building. It's the way it should be, or any embassies overseas, which are federal buildings. So those are a few. Russ, go ahead.
Okay.
Love to hear your commentary on any of these.
All right. So a few. First of all, the Paris Climate Accords was a hamstring to us. It did not. It classified India and China as third world nations, which meant they were not subject to its constraints, at least not for, was it 10 years or 20 years or something like that. And so that would let them, especially China, outpace us in terms of energy production. And people are crying about that, saying, we signed that. Yeah, but you know what? Neither Biden nor Obama ever did. Submitted as a treaty to the Senate. So unless you get 2/3 ratification by the Senate, the next president can just undo it. And he did. The federal furlough is interesting. It's basically a pause. Say, let's find out what we really need to, who we really need to hire and who we were just giving jobs to as a charity program. The back in the office thing is interesting. I think there is some benefit to some folks doing remote work, but at the same time, you know, a lot of these folks were using it as home vacations. They weren't even logging on and doing stuff. And most of these folks who were doing that was in Washington, D.C. It wasn't, which, just a real quick thing, what I wish Trump would do is I wish that he would move a lot of these agencies out of D.C. It would, first of all, it would break up the federal workforce. It would stop the concentration of political power, Democrat political power in Northern Virginia. You know, you could move like, you know, Department of Defense down in North Carolina. You could move the Treasury Department to New York City. You could move Department of the Interior to Kansas, that kind of stuff.
Yep. 100% agree with that. 100%. You don't need all these people living in the fucking corrupt Washington, D.C. area.
Yep.
And becoming Democrats.
The birthright citizenship one is interesting because it's multi-layered. And here's what I mean by that. When the 14th Amendment was originally ratified, the intent was to tell, especially the South, hey, you can't deny African Americans citizenship just because they were slaves or their parents were slaves. It was designed to enshrine former slaves as American citizens.
Right.
And it was never designed to create birth tourism for everybody. The issue is the way the amendment is written, because the way the amendment is written, it does make it sound like if you were born here, you're automatically a citizen. Now, it's never been adjudicated by the courts. I think an executive order would get overturned. I really do. I might not like it. I think it would probably require action from Congress at the very least. It could require a constitutional amendment, but at the very least, it would require some kind of congressional action to clarify some of this stuff. Now, but people have taken advantage of it. You know, they come here, they drop a baby, and they've got an anchor here. And we're talking about illegal immigrants doing this. You know, folks who are here legally, everybody says, well, you were an immigrant, you'd be deported. No, it's not about immigrants. It's about illegal immigrants.
Right. Of course.
And people conveniently leave that out because it doesn't match their narrative. So that's the big thing on the birthright citizenship. Probably going to have to take congressional action. I don't know if they'll be able to get that done because of the filibuster. DEI, thankfully, that was finally, that's finally gone. It's, we should judge people based on their merit, not based on the color of their skin. Now, let me back up. DEI and affirmative action especially, had a place in the late 60s and early 70s. We were just coming out of segregation. We had not yet adjusted society, but it's been more than 50 years. Okay, right. Society has adjusted. Okay, it has been adjusted for nearly my entire life, or at least my entire remembering life, because it had pretty much adjusted by the early to mid 80s. So the DEI needed to go away. It was, first of all, it's insulting to people when folks look and say, "Hey, was this person here because of merit, or was this person here because they were hired to fill a certain quota?"
Right.
That should be an insult to everybody, regardless of their skin color, to say, "Hey, was I hired because I earned this, or was I hired because they needed to have the right skin tone in there?" So the energy thing is great. We need to get the pipelines running again. We need to get Keystone back up. We need to drill into Anwar. I've been hearing my entire life, well, if you start, you could start drilling in Anwar, start getting it ready today, and you wouldn't get oil out for 10 years. Yeah, but if we'd gone into Anwar in the 90s like we originally wanted to, we'd be pulling out all kinds of oil by now. So you just keep pushing this thing down the road. And yeah, we need energy. We're a growing economy. We've got to have energy to work. The World Health Organization is a communist organization. It's run by China. It would impose tyrannical lockdowns if somebody had the sniffles. We need to be gone from that. Along those same lines, regarding the Panama Canal, I don't think people understand how it works. What I mean by that is there are Chinese companies that control the entrances and exits to the Panama Canal.
Right.
However, what people don't seem to understand for some reason, these companies are not independent capitalist firms like we think of in America. A company like that is going to be an offshoot of the Chinese Communist Party. So if there's say there's a war in, I don't know, Taiwan or the South China Sea, this company is going to try to shut down the ends of the Panama Canal and stop American shipping from east to west. That would have a severe impact on our economy. I don't know exactly what Trump plans to do. He'll pressure Panama in some way. I don't see a military invasion unless there is a war in the South China Sea with Taiwan. If that happens, we probably would deploy an airborne brigade or a couple of them to make sure we maintain access to the Panama Canal. But the rest of it's going to be diplomatic. It's going to be economic pressure in order to get it. And China knows what it's doing. Chinese companies got the entrance and exit of the Panama Canal specifically for the ability to shut it down. Now, there's economic benefit to it, absolutely, but they knew what they were doing. The Gulf of America is just silly. It's fine. It gives me a snicker. It's meaningless. No one's going to refer to it as the Gulf of America for a very long time, if ever. But it's funny. It's classic Trump. We're gonna. I don't know if you've seen the map of what else we're gonna rename. Supposedly it was a joke map. We're gonna Canada was gonna be renamed America's 51st state. Russia was gonna be renamed Winterized Not America. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Denali is interesting because Denali is like an indigenous name, and Barack Obama changed it. It was Mount McKinley. It's the highest point in North America. Barack Obama changed it because it was woke. Trump decided to change it back. What it did, it may have been the thing that cost Pete Hegseth one of the votes in the Senate. I still think he'll have enough to get through. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I'd like to bring that up.
But it's gonna cost him Lisa Murkowski's vote in the Senate. Trump probably could have been like, nobody was talking about Mount McKinley / Denali. Nobody. And Trump could have gone to Murkowski and say, hey, you vote for my nominees, I'll make some kind of thing that I talked to you and decided to keep Denali because it's not that big a deal. But whether or not maybe he thought that he was going to lose her vote anyway. She's a Democrat. She's a Republican in name only, who skated by on her daddy's name ever since, for like 2 decades now. But she broke ranks 12 times in 2020 to vote for Joe Biden's nominees, and she can't vote for Trump's. She's a horrible, horrible senator. She's only in the Senate because of the ranked choice voting in Alaska. She needs to be gone. I would even advocate for Alaskans electing a Democrat to the Senate, because at least a Democrat we could get rid of in 6 years, because Alaskans are not going to tolerate a Democrat for very long. And maybe we can actually get, a real Republican senator in there, like we've tried a couple of times, but Murkowski got too big a hold on Alaska. And then renaming some of these things, this is not going to happen, I don't think, but it would be hysterical if it did. You saw the post on my page, like, hey, how about we rename all the military bases back to what they were before Joe Biden and the Council of Woke got a hold of them? Goes back to being Fort Hood, Fort Bragg, Fort Benning. The debate that broke out on my page is over, whether or not we should rename them for Confederate generals, and they're all losers anyway. Yeah, to be fair, Hood and Bragg and others were not the best generals. I mean, the best Southern generals were Lee, Jackson, Johnston, maybe Beauregard, Jeb Stuart, Longstreet, kinda, although Longstreet was kind of a whiny bitch about his plan for Gettysburg. But the whole reason that these bases were named after those generals was the agreement between the states and the federal government. When the federal government was looking for bases, the states, with the warm weather that they wanted for these bases, the states said, we'll give you the land, we get naming rights. And that's why that happened. One thing was brought up on my page about how it's Fort, they couldn't even name Fort Liberty after a person. Fort Bragg, it became Fort Liberty. They couldn't, why not rename it like Fort Omar Bradley? Why didn't Hood get Fort Patton at least? Let's get some real imagery in there. I mean, nobody in America that it's not in the military knows who Richard Cavazos was. Cavazos was a great hero on the Distinguished Service Cross in Korea. Nobody in America knows who he is unless you're a military historian.
Right, right.
Even Hal Moore, unless you've seen the movie We Were Soldiers Once and Young and were able to put two and two together, nobody knows Fort Moore, the former Fort Benning. They have no idea these. And then, like I said, you couldn't come to an agreement on a name for Bragg, so you have to name it Fort Liberty because that's what they fight for. Give me a break. Why don't we have Fort Freedom or Fort America? Hell yeah, fuck yeah.
I think it's ridiculous that we're naming these things after hyperboles and yeah, it's kind of funny. I've met, as you know, Hal Moore, because I was in the exact same battalion many moons after he commanded it at the Battle of Iadrang, or Valley of Iadrang, LZX, anyway. He only made it to a 1-star, and it was very brief. So it was like, and he was a hero. I mean, no, great officer, great. Meeting him, I was in awe, of course, because you had to read the book, and I knew everything about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was odd. He made it to 1-star, and that was very brief. And that was almost like a thank you for what you did as a lieutenant colonel. Here's your star before you get out. Yeah. And please, 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 nobody. I'm not disparaging the name. I've met the man and had beers with the man. So nothing but fondness. But I thought that was an odd one when you've got a million other, no Fort Patton, really? I remember when I got to Fort Hood and I was in the Cav and they still had second AD and they didn't even wear the patch here. They wore it over their heart because that's how much Patton was. That was the only unit in the Army authorized to do that. That's how much he was revered. I cannot believe there's not how about a Fort Pershing, the godfather of the modern army, the expeditionary commander in World War I, who basically formed what our army was going to be. I mean, there's a million that I can think of. I would like to see
Fort MacArthur.
Yeah, I was going to say Fort MacArthur. Are you kidding me? MacArthur's one of the most interesting characters in all of Army military history, and successful. Oh, by the way. Took a ragtag pile of shit and managed to win the Korean War with it. So anyway,
who's the guy? Fort Clark. Mark Clark in the Italian campaign.
Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch you could.
There's a whole bunch you could go to. It's not disparaging the guys that they were named after, but
no, me neither. No, I just think it's weird.
By the way, one of the guys that's associated with Hal Moore, I will disparage. Joe Galloway was a putz.
I met Joe Galloway, of course, several times. Well, talked to him several times. He would come to our stable calls and all that stuff. Yeah, boy, doesn't look like Barry Pepper. Let me just put it to you that way.
No,
he's like 350 pounds.
He's a rather large man.
Yeah, about 350. And he had to wear like muumuus and Hawaiian shirts because he was such. I'm not bad mouthing him. The guy was, he did what he did, but he was a far left guy.
Yeah, he was far left. He came and talked to us at CGSC.
Did he?
Several of us were convinced he was drunk when he was talking to us.
He probably was. He was always drunk when we got together, and he'd come to those things. He was always
drunk. And he said some things in our talk about how people should spit on the Pentagon and stuff. And yeah, my admiration for him was not high.
Wrong crowd to be talking. Just like maybe he and that Episcopalian lesbo are scissoring right now. No, I think Joey.
Isn't he dead?
He is. Yeah, and
he died.
I'll apologize for that comment.
No, I'm not asking you to apologize. I just say they can't scissor because he's dead.
Yeah. No, that was kind of mean. Even by my standards, that was pretty mean. I meant their politics. That's all I meant by that. Inappropriate.
I'm trying to remind. He died. Oh fuck. Okay. He died in 2000. He died in 2021. Fairly close to.
Was it COVID?
No, I don't think he died from COVID.
I mean, he was morbidly obese. That's why I asked.
That's why. Well, let's see. Personal life. Died from a heart attack prior to his death. Okay. He was 79.
Well, God rest his soul. He certainly had the balls, and he and Hal Moore became lifelong friends, and he would travel around with General Moore to all these things and stuff like that. So that was real from the movie, the way they bonded. He had balls of steel in that fight, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I can't disparage him for being a schmuck.
No, he's a schmuck. Nice guy. I thought, nice guy if he wasn't, but he didn't talk politics to a bunch of savage Cav guys wearing Cav Stetsons and drunk out of our minds and stuff like that. So anyway, the one thing I just want to backtrack just for a second. Panama Canal. Why is that a big deal? Well, because it took 10 years to build, and it was one of the greatest engineering feats in all of history. And we're not sure. It was like, it was 10 years, right? 1904, 1940, right before World War One, it was finished and
Yeah.
operational. Before, I should say, yeah, that's true. And because it was used by some of the West Coast units, troop ships going over to Europe. I remember that very specifically now. But 10 years, and it cost right around, we think, between 20 and 30,000 American lives to build that,
Yeah.
of the people. And then, a lot of that, of course, there was a lot of industrial accidents and so, dynamite and all that stuff, but most of that was probably yellow fever and malaria. Yeah, nasty part of the world, Panama is, as far as that kind of stuff. Everything there will bite you, kill you, or poison you. Um, but and like you said, the most important thing, and besides the memorial to tens of thousands of Americans who bravely worked on that and died, yeah, the Chinese control the input output on both sides of it, and they're just they're called companies, but they're just the communist government who has an offshoot that they name after a corporation, and they file an international business license. It's controlled by Chicom. That's it. It's the deal. I had a comment on, what was it? The 14th Amendment. Did you hear that? The Seattle judge, the Seattle District Court judge,
temporarily enjoined it already.
Yeah, enjoying it all. I mean, like, instant. And of course, it had to be that fucking schmuck from Seattle who always does that. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of my home city. This is the Mariners alternate logo, by the way. Their alternate.
I'd like to be honest, I'd like it to go to the Supreme Court and let's get a ruling.
Yeah, let's get a ruling.
What does birthright citizenship really mean?
Do you know that we are one of the what is it? Only
one of the only countries.
Yeah, like I think there's 6 considered modern countries that actually have birthright. And like 3 of those are in Africa, I believe.
Yeah.
I might be a little off on that number, but I think 3 of them are in Africa. I mean, there's hardly anybody does it. It's a stupid policy if you think about
it. The folks who wrote the 14th Amendment, they were concerned about, like I said, they were concerned about the slaves. They never foresaw the problem with illegal immigrants.
Right.
So they didn't. I'm sure they would have addressed it if someone brought up to, hey, if you can get people coming over here, in violation of the law, they would have probably addressed it, but they never did. So they left that turd for us. Let's get the Supreme Court to rule on where that policy change needs to come from, so we can start working on it.
I just want to point out that the 14th Amendment and things like the ADA and the Civil Liberties Act and all of those things that all of the racial desegregation, all that happened. Guess who led the charge on all of those initiatives?
Yeah,
the Republicans. That's right, the Republican Party. And I love people say, well, they flip-flopped. No,
they didn't. That's you being ashamed. That's you being ashamed, and rightfully so, of the past of the Democrats. But don't try and foist your party's bullshit.
Ku Klux Klan, Democrats.
Yep.
Shit, Strom Thurmond was still, at it until he was like 94, when he finally passed and left.
Well, he did switch parties, but he's like the only one. And more than that, you got to remember, seats in the South did not change from Democrat to Republican until like the 1990s.
Yeah.
Moreover, no one's going to call FDR a conservative, and he was the one throwing people into internment camps in World War II based on their genetic history.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. And the reason that happened is because of the shift to the left. There used to be this, you had the Republicans, and then the Democrats. You had that, not necessarily cliche, but you had that trope about the Southern Democrat, right? Where they were a little bit more socially liberal and pro-union and stuff like that for the people, but they voted conservative, fiscally conservative, pro-defense, all 9 yards. There was very little delta between Republicans and Southern Democrats. And then the Southern Democrats realized that the Democratic Party wasn't their party anymore. And so that's when things really started shifting towards the Republican side of the scale. Anyway, that's your history lesson for today. Oh, did you see my comment on I haven't been on Facebook most of the afternoon because I've been busy, but did you see my comment where we're talking about renaming? And that got some emotional reactions from some of your guys, I noticed. Yeah. But I said, hey, why don't we rename Earth Where America Lives?
Yeah. I haven't seen that comment yet, but I've seen I saw where one of our barracks buddies said we should rename it Fort Koopman.
Yeah. I was like, only if there's a base, only if there's a post in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm all for it. Let's talk a little bit. I can't believe we've been on this long already. This is nuts. And
Yeah.
we were supposed to take a commercial break so I could feed the dogs, but both dogs are sacked out, so I think they're okay right
Yeah,
now.
leave them alone.
We'll give them a late dinner tonight. Huckleberry's still think he looks good in his Eddie Bauer plaid over there, looking. And little girl's under my bed. That's where she likes to be, even though she's
Yeah.
115 pounds. I don't know how she gets under there. Um, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the confirmation real quick. Ratliff was confirmed almost overwhelmingly. Um,
Just on the confirmation thing, Doug Collins confirmed to be the VA secretary. The
mhm.
only person that voted against him was the dumbest member of the Senate, Mazie Hirono.
She voted against him. Why?
Yep. It was 99-1
Why would she vote against him?
because she's an idiot.
There's nothing to vote against that guy. He's a VA secretary. He's perfectly qualified.
Yeah, I can't get behind her reasoning, but that's because I
Yeah,
don't.
Marco Rubio was 99 to nothing. That's just because our Fetterman guy didn't show up to vote because he
Yeah.
was too busy at the Nike outlet picking out his formal gown for the next formal affair that he's going to go to, his next Nike shorts and hoodie. And then he went to the Carhartt outlet and bought his next hoodie. Um, yeah, you know what? I know people think it's kind of fun. It's not. You went to the inauguration wearing fucking shorts and a hoodie. Come on, dude. You're just you're playing on this whole thing. Come on, buy a fucking suit. It's disrespectful. I don't care what you say. It's disrespectful.
Um, did you see the latest attempt at an allegation against Hegseth?
Yes, I did. Go ahead.
For
Go ahead. Go
For
ahead.
those who don't know, Hegseth's former sister-in-law, the sister of his ex-wife, came forward and tried to say that Hegseth was abusive and was physically abusive with his ex-wife. And that started leading off NBC News stories, but you had to get, I think, all the way to the 9th paragraph before it came out that his ex-wife denied that ever happened. His former sister-in-law is a far-left activist. And luckily, most of the Republicans are they're finally over this shit. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana was like, "Look, this is just like Kavanaugh all over again. We're not playing this game anymore." The Democrats they've blown their wad. Now it did give Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski the excuse that they wanted to vote against Hegseth. Like I said, we got to get rid of Murkowski. Collins is a little bit more difficult because she's from Maine. The question you run into there is, are you willing to tolerate some of her crap so that we can get her voting with us 50% of the time versus a Democrat that would vote against us 100% of the time? So that's iffy. I always said that she was a probable no vote. And I said Murkowski probably was just because she hates Trump. There are rumors, and I'm not sure why this would happen, that McConnell might vote against Hegseth.
I don't think that's going to happen, but
yeah, he voted in favor of cloture today. So cloture came out 51-49. So even if McConnell, for some reason, although I don't know why, did vote against Hegseth, it's 50-50,
Okay,
and then JD Vance breaks the tie. So I think Pete becomes the next Secretary of Defense probably by Friday, probably by tomorrow evening.
yeah, no, I think it's going to be 51.
It's probably going to be 50, probably 51-49, but he can get through at 50-50. Now the two toughest nominees to get through will be Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. I think Tulsi will get through. I think it'll be very tight, but I think Tulsi will probably squeeze through. I have my doubts that RFK Jr. will.
Yeah, I kind of do too, but I know that President Trump doesn't make threats; he makes promises, and I think you're going to see his threats on getting primaried if you don't vote for his cabinet. He's going to follow through with that. He's going to.
Oh, absolutely. But it's got to remember. Look, I know that Trump likes Bobby Kennedy Jr. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is not a conservative. He's actually pretty far left.
Yeah, he's pretty far left on most stuff. I mean, he's taken the red pill a little bit. I've seen him shift more towards center on stuff, but yeah,
a lot of Republicans will be able to use his pro-choice views as their excuse to vote against him. So it's possible. Now, if Matt Gaetz had stayed in as Attorney General, he would have been rejected. I'm almost positive of that.
Yeah, nobody likes the guy that works with him. Nobody likes him.
Yeah, he would have been like the sacrificial lamb.
He would have.
Now you got to remember there has not been a nominee rejected, I want to say, since the 1980s. I'd have to go back. No, I want to say I believe John Tower for Secretary of Defense was the last nominee rejected under Bush the first.
God, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, but
I'll do some research, and that's a really, I don't know why I didn't think to do some research on that. That's a really good point. Really good question, actually.
but the last nominee that was rejected when the president's party controlled Congress was like 1924. It's been a century since that's happened. So I don't. Yeah, I mean, I was one of the ones that I wrote on when Joni Ernst was waffling about stuff. Our podcast is one of the ones that went on our Twitter page and said, "Look, you vote against Hegseth, and we will find a way to primary you. I don't care who we have to put up, but this is bullshit. Just because you're butthurt that you didn't get chosen for Secretary of Defense." And she, in fairness, she listened. Her and Lindsey Graham got bombarded by people who were like, "Hey, look, this is crap. We voted for Trump knowing that this was coming up." And Hegseth's going to be a disruptor in the Department of Defense, and that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
The chief of the Coast Guard was already fired. She was fired a couple of days ago. Did you see that?
I did.
So, listen, the majority of Trump's nominees will be just fine. It's Gabbard and RFK Jr. I worry about. I do think Gabbard gets through, but it may be 50-50. I am not convinced RFK Jr. is going to get through.
I'm not either. I think Gabbard will get through. I think it'll be a Hegseth kind of margin. Like you said, Vance may have to break the tie on that, which is insane to me because the Democrats hate her because she used to be a Democrat and they consider her a red traitor now. And a lot of the I still talk to people on the conservative side that don't trust her. And it's like, I think she's one of the most honest human beings I've ever seen in politics and she's changed some of her views. She's evolved some of her views, and there's nothing fucking wrong with that. I respect
as long as you can explain the evolution, and she has.
She has explained it, and
Kamala never did.
She's bright, she's articulate. Well, you know how I feel about Tulsi Gabbard. I'm a huge fan, and I mean her. I'm not talking about the way she looks or anything like that. I mean that doesn't hurt, but
her as a person.
I mean, I would love to, like, if I was a young lieutenant and she was my commander, I would have no problem with that. I don't agree with her on a lot of stuff. I'm not an isolationist at all. I'm not a hawk, but I'm certainly not an isolationist saying, "Oh, we should never," bullshit. I'd rather, I'm kind of into the Bush 2 doctrine where rather fight him in their soil than on ours. His interesting interpretation of the Monroe Doctrine that he used to go into Iraq and Afghanistan to a certain extent. But I agree with that. I agree with that in principle. And of course, I've been told by strict libertarians that you're not a libertarian if you believe. Fuck you. Don't tell me. There's nothing in libertarianism that says you can't go beat the shit out of somebody that threatens you.
Yeah, libertarianism is not about laying down and taking it.
Yeah, not at all. Matter of fact, it's quite the opposite if you want to go back and read some Locke and some other. Anyway, I always get off on that tangent when I talk libertarianism. De Tocqueville. Yeah, don't forget de Tocqueville. No, I think Tulsi will get through. I hope so because she is just an interesting cat. And as an Army officer, she has that certain amount of critical thinking yet flexibility built into her worldview. And that's important. That's really important because there's so many politicians out there that don't have that ability. They're locked into their dogma. They're dogmatic. And when you watch fucking screeching idiots like AOC, who did I see? She hasn't been in the spotlight lately. No, Tlaib. Her soul.
Rashida
Tlaib spoke out.
Banshee, yeah.
Spoke out today, and I'm just like, who votes for these fucking people? Who votes for the AOCs and the Adam Schiffs? So people don't think I'm being misogynist, that I'm against. I obviously have great admiration for Tulsi Gabbard. I still have admiration, even though I didn't want her to be president, for Nikki Haley, the job she did for the first Trump administration. And she's a bit of a rhino, but I have admiration. There's, one of my political heroes who doesn't get enough credit is Condoleezza Rice. Sorry, I just think the world of Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah.
But Tulsi deserves it. And she would be perfect because she's got that combination. She's got that feminine way about her, but she thinks like a dude.
Yeah, and she can be stern when necessary, and focused.
Right.
And people, especially on the Republican side of the aisle, they need to understand Trump was voted in to be a disruptor. He was voted in because the status quo is so screwed up right now.
Right.
And Tulsi will be a disruptor. RFK Jr. will be a disruptor. Pete Hegseth will be a disruptor. That they were voted in specifically for that. And you can't just say, you can't maintain the status quo, maintain the swamp. That's just not going to work anymore.
It's kind of funny. I was doing a mind exercise trying to think what this administration and the cabinet would look like if our guy that we were supporting a year ago, DeSantis become president. And I don't think there'd be different names. I think the attorney general would be the same. It'd be Bondi, by the way.
Yeah, it probably would be Pam Bondi.
It'd be Pam Bondi because they had a very great relationship. I just sounded like Trump. They had a relationship like no other. But I think DeSantis, he is a disruptor completely, does it in a little bit more boring way. But I think it would be very similar. I think his cabinet would have been a lot of picks that are in there to fucking raise hell. I do.
Yeah, Trump is a bull in a china shop. DeSantis would be more like, a calf walking through the cafe. I don't know.
That's the worst analogy I've ever heard. But
I can't come up with it right. But Trump is a bull in a china shop thing. But I can't come up with. DeSantis would be a disruptor, but he'd be a lot more genteel about it.
Yeah.
I don't think DeSantis would have picked RFK Jr. I think he would have picked. Do think he would have picked Tulsi. I don't think he would have picked Pete Hegseth.
I don't think so either. I don't think.
Now, my top choice was always Tom Cotton. I think Tom Cotton would have been a fabulous Secretary of Defense.
Tom Cotton's awesome. I love Tom Cotton. He's a great American.
A lot of the rest of the picks would have been the same, similar or the same. I mean, Rubio for Secretary of State is a home run.
It's a home run. It's so obvious that I'm surprised I didn't think about that last year. It's a home run.
Did you see his little speech during his swearing in when he went into Spanish?
I did.
Did you see what he said to J.D. Vance after that?
I missed that.
So he gave his speech in English. He said, "Hey, we got a lot of Spanish-speaking folks out there. That's my heritage. I'm going to do some thank yous in Spanish." He rattled on for 25 seconds. And then he turned to J.D. Vance and said, "What I just told them was I just saved a bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico."
I missed that. That's funny.
Yeah, I saw that online today. That made me smile.
That is funny because Rubio always got kind of needled for being such a square, straight-laced guy, and against Trump, he didn't really have a whole lot of personality. Young guy, young senator. I mean,
Vance was cracking up when that came out.
I fucking love Vance. I love his sense of humor. I love his realism. Did you catch Vance on any of the podcasts like Rogan or?
I did catch him. I caught him on Rogan. Yeah.
How about oh shit, one of my favorite comedians right now and his podcast.
Theo Von?
Yeah, Theo Von. Did you catch him on Theo Von?
I didn't see him on that. I saw Trump on that.
Yeah, my God, he and they were cracking up the entire time. I mean, and Vance was using the F word, and they were just going back and forth, and it's like
Vance is the unquestioned front runner right now for the 28 nomination because Trump can't run again.
Right.
So the Republicans are already going to start jockeying for this, but it's Vance's to lose as long as he does over the next 4 years. Okay, he is. I would be stunned at this point if he's not the nominee. And now he may. I would love him to pick DeSantis as his running mate because I want DeSantis in there at some point.
Right.
But now there's a few other folks I wouldn't mind seeing. Glenn Youngkin. There's a woman in Virginia who is going to run for governor next year, and I hope to God she wins. Named Winsome Sears.
Oh yeah,
but she can't run for president,
right?
Because she was a Jamaican citizen at birth.
Jamaican citizen, right?
Yeah, not naturalized. That's another thing I would like to see changed. Here, what I would change about the qualification for the presidency, if I was king for a day, was you naturalized citizen or a citizen of the United States for 40 years or more. Because I mean, if you've been a citizen for 40 years and you don't have dual citizenship, it should be pretty good. Idea that you're not a foreign plant.
Yeah. No, I think putting some type of reason. I don't know, 40 years, whatever. But putting some reasonable time that you're a citizen. Yeah, that is kind of odd. I get it. I get why the founding fathers put it
I
that
know
way.
is that why it was done originally.
Sure,
Keep the
sure.
British from coming back in, or others just coming in, becoming an American citizen, and then forcing forcing us back to their country.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not big on, well, founding fathers looked at things this way and we need to change the Constitution. I'm not big. I mean, there's a couple things. I realize that amendments are good and they need to happen sometimes and all that. I'm not real big. There's two documents that I'm not real big on changing that I don't think are very malleable. I bet you I get the Constitution's one. I think you can guess what the other one is. We discussed it quite a bit.
Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not real big on that.
There are tweaks I would make to the Constitution. There are a number of things. I mean, the basic structure I would obviously keep in place. Now, just I know we're kind of getting off topic, but here's a few tweaks I would make.
Sure.
I would change the presidency from a 4-year term to a 6-year term, but only eligible to be a single term president.
Single term. Yeah, that's interesting. We've talked about that. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd have to really give that some more thought.
It gets the president out of lame duck. It gets the president out of trying to campaign for the office.
There's some benefits to it. There's definitely some benefits.
Trump's unique in this regard, but if the Democrats have left him alone in 2020 and he'd won, he would have been at the end of a fairly anemic second term probably. But he's going into this almost like it's a first term, but he's got experience now.
Yeah. No, he's a different Trump. That's one of the reasons I played that World Economic Forum when he addressed that. That is not the Trump from 8 years ago at all. That is not how he would address that body. I mean, he was succinct. He was on task. He was on target with everything. He didn't wander off. I mean, yeah, he threw his little barbs in there about Biden and all that, but there was nothing he said that wasn't logical or understandable. And the reaction to the people that were there was all fair. I mean, probably the people that opposed him didn't have the balls to stand up and confront him.
Probably, yeah.
But it was very positive, the feedback he was getting from the people that were actually there. Yeah. So anyway, in Sweden.
A couple other tweaks I would make. I would repeal the 17th Amendment and make the senators appointed by the state legislatures again. But I would limit time in Congress to a grand total of 14 years, no more than 4 terms in the House, no more than 2 terms in the Senate. So you could do 4 terms in the House and 1 term as a senator. But I would get people out of that. I would give the president the line item veto to strike individual appropriations from the budget. I would make it so that in order to increase taxes or lower taxes, it required a vote of 60% in Congress, because that'd be and I would make it so that you can't just lower, one, rate. I'm sorry, you can't just raise one group of people's taxes. You have to, everybody's go up if you raise taxes, so it gives everybody skin in the game. I would change. We already talked about the birthright citizenship thing.
Right.
I figured out a way to change that.
I've never been a fan. I've never been a fan of it. Never been a fan of it.
So, like I said, tweaks like that is what I would do. It's nibbling around the edges to make it more efficient, but I wouldn't make wholesale changes to the branches of government or the Bill of Rights or anything like that.
You wouldn't get rid of the Electoral College like all of the lefties want?
Absolutely not.
No, real quick, we don't need to dive into that. We talk about that a lot. But this election, if anything, proved the veracity and the validity of the Electoral College.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he won the popular vote too, but that's a rarity. But this really showed the absolute necessity for the Electoral College. And as I try to tell people from the left that don't do a fucking thing, they just sit around at Starbucks on their laptops and, go home at the age of 35 to their mom and dad's house. Do you not realize where all your resources come from? All of your resources that allow you to live this life, fucking all of them. This isn't make-believe. This isn't like, the Matrix where you sit on the laptop and code. All of the shit that you use on a daily basis comes from people that vote red.
Yep.
Jesus, you scared the shit out of me. Did you hear that? Yeah.
No.
God, she scared me. She's getting to the age, she just turned 1 and her breeds are kicking in. That guard, she's Pyrenees and Shepherd. So it's really kicking in right now. So she is she's becoming a bit of a bully to the dogs next door. No, it's great. She's fine. She stands her ground and she doesn't Her scaredy cat puppy days are over. And like I said, she watches TV with me in the evenings. And if there's a dog or any critter on the TV screen, she gets pissed. She gets right up next to me and rah, 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 rah. And she's getting a distinct voice. Aren't you, sweetheart? You're a tough chick. But anyway, I know we're gonna get off pretty soon. They're bugging me to eat, but they woke up after I said, "Hey, they're asleep. I don't need to feed them." And of course, they heard that and they're like, "Hey, Dad."
A chance to talk about Elon's.
I was gonna skip it because it's so stupid, but go ahead. Yeah, let's talk.
I was just gonna say he was been accused of making a Nazi salute by very stupid people. Yeah, as if anyone's gonna get up on stage and just give a Nazi salute. That's crap. I hope Elon starts suing people who are saying that he's doing that. That ties back to another point I was going to make earlier about this stupid bitch hop. Is that I felt a release of tension after the election, but since the inauguration, the left has become completely unhinged. It's
even more so than before. I feel like
it's well, I have a reason I think that, but first of all, I think that they really were in denial. They wouldn't let themselves believe that Trump would actually get sworn in. They thought something was going to happen at the last minute. He'd be denied by the Electoral College, or he was going to go to jail with Mershon or something. I don't think they really believed he was going to become the president. And the reason that they're acting like this now is they're flailing because everything has failed that they've tried, and people are wise to their act. They can't blame Russia anymore. They can't say that that he lost the popular vote. They can't. They tried January 6th and they got elected anyway. So they're out there flailing. They're like drowning men who are reaching for anything they can grab onto, and none of it's working. And it's kind of funny to watch the desperation of all of them. And it's not just the politicians. This is the left in general. People that I interact with have just gone absolutely off the deep end now that Trump is really the president. And he's doing what he said he would do.
Yeah. He's sticking to his mandate. He's sticking to his even by far exceeding my expectations, by the way.
Yeah, and it's funny when people say, well, look, Trump wants all this power unto himself. Tell you what, those people who are saying that, go back and read FDR's inaugural address.
Thank you.
The last one-third of that.
Thank you.
In that inaugural address, his whole thing was, hey, Congress, give me power. And if you don't give me power, I'm going to take it anyway because we're in an emergency situation and one person needs to tell everybody what to do. That was basically what it was. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. He put it a little more elegantly than that, but that was what it was. Give me power and get out of my way. Was FDR? Okay, right. We've survived. Look, don't get me wrong. Abraham Lincoln, great hero of the nation, but I mean, the dude, suspended the writ of habeas corpus, which is blatantly in violation of the Constitution.
Yes, he did.
And then just declared the slaves free through the Emancipation Proclamation. Which the question is, how would that have gone if it had ever gotten to courts? Luckily, it was abrogated by the 13th Amendment. But we've had, Teddy Roosevelt made a whole bunch of different decrees about stuff in terms of national park. Woodrow Wilson is the one who set up the bureaucratic state to begin with. We've had some presidents that have tried to gain, power before. So Trump is just a little bit more in your face about it.
The thing that people need to realize, and I know all these cliches that you hear like on Fox News, we're in the new American golden age and stuff like that. It's a little cliche-y, but there's some truth to it that this is probably the first administration ever that has a chance to roll back the government. Because as people know, once a government passes a law or has a policy or has a program, it only expands. It's like when they built the new Narrows Bridge back in the late 90s. And, famously Galloping Gertie, I don't know if you've ever seen those, the Narrows Bridge that connects Tacoma to the Olympic Peninsula, and that bridge collapsed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, pretty famous. But it was basically 2 lanes over and 2 lanes back. And once the Olympic Peninsula started growing and Tacoma became huge, I mean, it was just wall-to-wall congestion. So they built another one next to it, a modernized version of the Narrows Bridge next to it. And to pay for that, they charged back then, I think it was $2. And the toll was supposed to last for 5 years.
Yep.
Okay, this is like late 90s. This is 2024. And I believe last time I crossed, it was $9. and because they keep coming up and we're a super majority Democrat state like Oregon and California out here on the left coast, and so all they do is find different things to spend it on and keep raising the rates. It was supposed to go away. That was the agreement with the Washington residents. We're going to build this. We're going to have basically a tariff, a toll, and that's how we're going to pay for it. And it's going to go away in 3 to 5 years as soon as we pay it off. Oh no. I mean, it's like $9 to go over there now, and
And it's been on place for 30 years.
30 years, and it's never going to go away. Once the government's got a money-making schema, then it never goes away. This is actually the first time, this is historic, that this is, with whether Doge actually has any, any effect on this. Vivek already left Doge. I don't know what's up with that.
I think he's going to run. I think he wants to run for governor of Ohio.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was. I know that, but I didn't know if there was like he and Elon don't get along or something.
I don't know. I haven't heard.
Who knows? Who knows? I don't really care. But if Doge becomes kind of an impotent reaction, he's already chewing into this. Trump is already chewing into the federal government and rolling some stuff back.
From DEI and federal freeze on workers.
Oh my God. And it's so ridiculous how entrenched these things are. You remember, like, there was a lot of discussion in Bush the second's administration about shifting Social Security over to the stock market, or at least part of Social Security. You know, and I just read something online about 2 weeks ago how the average person getting Social Security right now, it's like $1,700 a month or something like that. Right now is the average payout for Social Security. People would have millions of dollars in their Social Security account because how much the market has expanded since the early 90s. They would literally be able to pull out like $4,000 or $5,000 a month Social Security right now, and it wouldn't be a sunk cost to the government. It would be money that was generated by, and all that money going into the stock market. We'd probably be looking at a third to a half again as much the Dow Jones than we have right now, because when you fund the stock market, that's part of what causes. Like I said, I went to school on this shit, and it's
some people might actually be able to retire instead of having to work until they're dead.
Yeah, and I don't know anybody that can live on. I see stories all the time on Facebook. Oh, my grandmother, she's on Social Security and she needs a place to stay. And it's like, fuck, it was a Roosevelt thing, Social Security, the whole 9 yards, and it was done at a time in the Depression, and it was understandable why they did it, but it was never supposed. It was supposed to be a Band-Aid, right? Until our economy got good.
Well, and it was also supposed to be indexed to life expectancy.
Expectancies, right? Yeah.
Picture I will always remember about Social Security, even though it was in a Mad magazine and it was supposed to be a satire thing, was a picture, of an old woman sitting in a bare bones apartment with no heat, and she's shivering in the picture, and she's eating out of a can of dog food with a spoon, saying, "This is how I live on Social Security." That's kind of the picture I've always had in my mind. It's supposed to supplement. But if you don't have something else besides Social Security, you are not going to be doing well in your old age.
Yeah, if you don't have a pension or something, and if you've and the boomers, they and even Generation X to a certain extent, they were fine being in the same job that they hated for 30 years so they could collect that pension. And even if the job sucked, I can't even begin to tell you how many older folks are like, jobs are supposed to suck. You're not supposed to enjoy going to work. That's where you go to make your money, and then you go home so you can have money to support your family and what you want to do on the weekends and stuff. That is not the case anymore. The Gen Zers are like, I don't want to work. It sucks, and I want to be an influencer. Well, if everybody's an influencer, there's nobody left to influence.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you and I are kind of influencers, but we have
But we're not making this we expect this to be our career unless it somehow takes off.
Yeah, no, this is not my livelihood, folks. So, the retirements and stuff that I earned from my military experience and other things are my livelihood.
Yeah,
but anyway, got off on a little bit of tangent there. But no, I think we had a good discussion here. Lots going on. I think that exhausted all of my things that I wanted to talk about. Let me see. Yeah, I think we're good. We talked about. Yep, I think I'm good. Anything else for us before we get off and I feed my pups?
I think you need to feed the pups. I think we're good. It's been a full few days. And,
I know. I mean, we could.
It's almost exhausting.
I was thinking I was outside with the dogs, went for a walk, and I was heading back up here to kind of finalize things for the podcast. I'm like, if we did this every day, we could still do a 2-hour podcast.
Oh yeah.
Easily. I just don't, I don't have time to put I do have other things to do. So like trying to put.
So do I. I don't have the strength.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though I don't have a full-time corporate job like you, I have a full-time stuff that I do. I got to show you this. I don't know if this will come off on camera, but let's see. Yeah. So that's my list for the last 2 days. And I color code everything as I get them done or I don't get them done. And that's what I do every night before I lay down and watch TV is I do that. And I had a list of like 38 things to do today.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't get around to all of them, but some of them are like a few minutes, Yeah. But if I don't stay busy, then I get in trouble. To
be honest, I've got a list of things I like to do and I like to cross stuff off. I've been known to put on trivial stuff on there just so
me too.
Then I can cross it off.
Me too. Order jerky for the dogs. Yeah, that's not going to take me too long. That's on there.
It's fun to cross off.
Yes, it is fun to cross off. Yeah, I put if I just remember, even for like post one of your Rainier pictures to Instagram and Facebook, stuff like that. I have that on here. As I think about them, I'm like, yeah, okay. That way I get across. Well, I don't cross them off. I use different colored highlighters. Green means I got it. Purple means I'm going to have to roll it over to the next day. And red goes, you better not fucking miss this, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right,
cool. Man.
A good discussion.
Good discussion. Lots more to talk about. I hope Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard get through the process. Good to see that they've already got a couple people through that are going to be heavy hitters in the administration. So Rubio,
I want him to get Hegseth and Bondi.
Ratliff, that's his name, right? CIA director.
I want him to get Hegseth and Bondi through quickly.
Yeah, me too. I don't think Bondi's going to have much of a problem, obviously.
No, but I just want to get them through so they can get to work.
Get to work. Right. Yeah, I want all these people to get to work. Well, we do have one more thing I did want to talk about, and I did have it on here, that the Trump administration under Tom Homan as our what's his title again? Sorry.
He's the head of ICE.
Head of ICE, yeah. He's basically our border czar. Because the vice president in the last administration did such a great job with that title. But they've arrested, I saw the last tally, over 400 people in the last 2 days that are criminal, illegal aliens.
Yep.
That is 400 more than the Biden administration ever did.
Yep.
400 more than the Biden administration, because there was no program under the Biden administration to go after illegal.
Homan's a bulldog.
He's going to be phenomenal. I think he's a bull mastiff.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like, actually. Anyway, and I was just like, woohoo! And it was just great. It was just great to see. It's great to see. All these people are crying. Good, fuck them. I'm sorry. This country's been ruined by these policies. So go away.
Yeah, I don't have sympathy for, especially for the criminals.
Yeah, if you and I were an illegal entrant to any of the European countries as an American, we wouldn't. Yeah, we'd be in their prisons too. By the way, and on a plane. All right, guys, that does it for the two grumpy bastards, Coop and Russ, and for Huckleberry and Lucille. We will see you next week. Go over to the Facebook page. We're posting a lot, or at least I'm posting a lot. Russ doesn't post shit.
I need to do that more often. I know. I do more on X than I do on Facebook.
That's fine. I can't even access X from the laptop. Only my phone right now. It's weird. I got to figure that out. Yet another problem I got to fix. Go figure. But do come over the Facebook group. You can find us. It's a private group, so we'll have to allow you in. All you current Facebook people, you can invite anybody that you deem fit.
I tend to blow my wad on my personal Facebook page, so I need to get more on ours.
I was gonna say a lot of those you can blow your wad over there and then do an encapsulation for the people that don't follow you on the Two Grumpy Bastards Facebook group. And there's a lot of good stuff on the Facebook group, actually. Funny memes, but there's also some good news and other issues that we delve into. I need to do a little bit better. I put up videos that are educational, almost nobody watches those, but I'll put up a stupid meme and it's like 20 people are like, "Oh, that's great."
Yep.
And it's like, it's okay to click on those videos. There's some educational shit there, guys. All right. From the Two Grumpy Bastards, thanks for listening. And remember to keep your focus and
stay wokeless.
Well, hey, everybody. This is Coop, the handsome and debonair one of the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. Not to mention I'm the only one that's an actual bastard. Google that shit.
Don't, actually. Hey, I'm here to do a shameless plug for our merchandise. You can find us at 2grumpybastardsmerchandise.com. We got a whole bunch of new merchandise in. I think you'll like some of the new choices. There's some pro-Second Amendment. There's some anti-Washington State Governor stuff on there. I think you'll really appreciate it. New stuff coming all the time. I have 2 great designs in the works, so please, to support this podcast, that's one of the easiest ways to do it. We're also on Etsy. Yeah, I know, Etsy. You can find our products on eBay as well. Storm King Mercantile is the name of the store there that fronts us. And there's many, many other ways to support this podcast, of course. We have a Patreon page, same thing, 2 Grumpy Bastards. We certainly would appreciate you following us on Instagram. Most of you probably know we have a Facebook page, 2 Grumpy Bastards Podcast. We have a lot of fun over there, a lot of frivolity, a lot of memes, and a lot of hard-hitting news, believe it or not. A lot of great people in that group. Also, all of the social media outlets, including now on TikTok. You can find us there. And one of the things that I really wanted to tell you is if you have any feedback for Russ, especially because he kind of sucks, feel free to email us at 2grumpybastards@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us, or you can always leave us a comment or an IM on, or DM, I should say. See, I'm so savvy. I'm so savvy. On our Facebook page. So we really appreciate you listening or watching us over there on YouTube as well. And we hope you do both, because Russ is something to look at. I said something. I didn't say something really great to look at. Anyway, thanks for listening. This is your intrepid, amazing, and grateful host of the 2 Grumpy Bastards podcast, Coop. Remember, keep your focus and stay wokeless.